Go after Ripple all you want. And if you could prove the case, God bless you. Prove it.
In today's video, Attorney John Deaton discussed the latest with the SEC Ripple XRP lawsuit, the recent summary judgments from Ripple and the SEC, and what's next for the procedural process, likelihood of a settlement soon.
Coinbase goes on the offensive, and brother, you know I love it. Coinbase yesterday filed a unique petition under the law called a writ of mandamus. And while everyone else was in Twitter world was trying to figure out what the hell's a writ of mandamus, there's a community that was ahead of the game as usual for 2 years already knew what a writ of mandamus was. A writ of mandamus is when a company or a petitioner, individual, goes to the court and says that there's this government agent, officer, and they're not doing their job, and we need a court order for you, judge, to tell them to do their job. Now, why in the world would Coinbase have to file a writ of mandamus asking the SEC to do its job? Now, if right now, just picture The Exorcist, the movie where she turns her head all the way completely around, because that's what my reaction is when I hear that. There needs to be certainty for Ether. That was 2018. We are 5 years later. And so what Coinbase has done, which is beautiful, is that I think they playing the long game here, people. They went back and they said, listen, in July of 2022, and they asked the SEC for clarity to basically say, okay, which tokens are we listing that you think are securities, and tell us how we can comply. Because 2 years ago, you, the SEC, gave us a permission to go public with an IPO, and you didn't require us to register as an exchange that sells securities. So, okay, we want to comply. Tell us. And the law requires them, they're supposed to give a response, even if it's a no. But the SEC refuses to do that. And the law, basically, under the Administrative Procedure Act, says that this government has to basically respond within a reasonable time. Well, a reasonable time has passed, and they go in. Now, will it be successful? We don't know. I said that XRP holders already knew what a writ of mandamus was, because Coinbase's writ of mandamus is not the first one in crypto. XRP holders, 9 days after the Ripple lawsuit was filed by the SEC on January 1st, 2021, filed a writ of mandamus asking a judge to make the SEC do their job and amend the complaint to only comply with the law. Basically, the theory was, look, go after Ripple all you want. And if you could prove the case, God bless you. Prove it. They violated the law, violate. But you can't say that secondary market sales of people who have no connection to Ripple, who have never heard of Ripple, that what we're doing involves an unregistered security. And you can't cite a case in 80 years of jurisprudence. You can't come up with one that says secondary market sales of an investment contract are also securities. Now, we know what happened in that case. I withdrew it because they said that Judge Torres was the only judge that could comment now that the case was filed. We went there and we became amicus, and you know thereafter what happened. And I think Coinbase has a great shot here. But you got to remember, Coinbase is playing, there's two courts. There's the court of public opinion and there's the court. And so whether or not they win technically in the court, what they're doing is they're changing the narrative, right? Where they're introducing the true and accurate narrative. The Gensler narrative is, oh, it's so clear. Despite what he said 5 years ago, it's been crystal clear. Come on in, fill out this form and comply with us. And that's the bullshit narrative. And Coinbase, by doing this, is interjecting a more accurate narrative, saying, look, we're pleading with you. We've been pleading with you, just like Ripple and all the other companies. And that's going to pay dividends, in my opinion, because the courts are where we're going to win. All right. We just saw that hearing with Gary Gensler. And we know that the Democrats like Elizabeth Warren, not all Democrats, but the ones in leadership like Elizabeth Warren, who has Gensler's ear, and others on the banking committee like Sherrod Brown, Brad Sherman, and all of them, Maxine Waters, they are anti-crypto. And so we're not going to get legislation. So we've got to go into court. And Coinbase, whether you love them or not, you have to celebrate this move on their part. That's what's going on in America. In the meantime, last week, the rest of the world is proceeding without America. And what we have is the European Union passed the Markets in Crypto Assets law, known as MiCA. What is MiCA? It's a regulatory framework which provides licensing for crypto companies who stay in compliance with government and consumer protection standards. In other words, it's crypto regulation that they're trying to provide clarity. And I'm going to read a direct quote from the Bloomberg article. Quote, MiCA will require any company offering crypto-related services in the European Union to gain registration in one of the bloc's member states, which then allows them to operate across the entire European bloc. End quote. That is the first major legislation from a regulatory body on crypto, and it's having impact. What does it really mean? It means that they're moving while the United States is left behind. And I want to draw a comparison to what happened. We're repeating history with the chip industry. 20 years ago, when the United States fully embraced China, what happened? All of the semiconductors went offshore. Taiwan Semiconductor, NVIDIA, all of them. And we lost that race, and we've been paying for it ever since. And blockchain technology, we seem to be doing the same stupid approach. Now, what I want to talk about is, why is this so devastating to America? I want to remind people that BlackRock, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, said, quote, that the tokenization of real world assets is the future, and that all assets are going to be on the blockchain. Okay, so that's what's happening. We know that their venture capitalists are moving offshore. Think about this. Think about a company like Coinbase, which is the largest company in the United States, right? That's an American company that was given permission to go public with their business model 2 years ago. And 2 years later, that same company's CEO said, all things are on the table. All issues are on the table. What he's talking about is the possibility that Coinbase would leave the United States. Okay, that is just unbelievably, remarkably the saddest, most tragic thing that I could think of that's happening in our country. Now, all of that is going to go offshore. Okay, money's already starting to flow outside of the United States. And I think the United States economy is going to pay for it. What's the future hold? Basically, Congress, by not enacting, has surrendered the lead to crypto to the rest of the world. And when we look at the past, we've had rewarded disruptors. We're supposed to be a free market capitalist society that would reward and facilitate disruption. Yesterday's disruptors, we've got the Amazons and the Apples and the eBays, and America flourished because we didn't take the approach that we're taking now. And that's the approach that we're normally taking. And what are we doing now with today's disruptors as it relates to crypto? We've got Library, we've got Ripple, we've got Circle, we've got Kraken, obviously Coinbase, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever you want to say. That's today's disruptors that are supposed to be disrupting these banks. And instead of fostering that and facilitating that disruption and rewarding it, it is an all-out attack and assault on it. When we look at our past, automobile industry, television, computers, the internet, e-commerce, all of that came to America and we flourished. And we've got the biggest companies in the world. And now we're seeing it completely go offshore. And we're going to continue to see it go offshore. We've already seen the Nexos, and we've already seen 4 or 5 companies shut down operations in the United States. And can you just imagine if we don't start getting victories? Imagine Coinbase, Ripple, today's disruptors, Kraken, all of them just saying, we've had enough. We're moving offshore. What's that going to do for the United States? What's that going to do? Where's the job goes? Where's the money go?